Hello Slapafish community, in this video I'm going to be going through the T110E4 line to see if you should grind the T110E4 line. Now the first couple of tanks I'm just going to make it very quick because it's tier 1 through 4. First of all, the first tank in this line is the T1 Cunning. This is a very lightly armored tank, kind of slow for a tier 1, but it also has a 5-shot autoloader. Pretty nice autoloader, but it's inaccurate. That's the tier 1. It's the only tier 1 American tank now, since the T22 prototype is now a tier 6. The next in the line is the T3 HMC. Now this is one of the fastest tanks in the game, funnily enough. This tank goes like 72.4 kilometers, but a terrible reverse speed of 14 kilometers. It gets two really good guns, a 2-pounder and a 75 howitzer. So a derp gun and a penetrating gun. So it doesn't really matter which, and it is a turreted tank. It's very fast, lightly armored, and yeah, derp gun or penetrating gun. The tier 3 is the T56 GMC. Now this is another turreted tank destroyer, lightly armored, amazing gun, and it's not that fast, going 50 kilometers, but really good horsepower at 28.17. But this tank's all about the gun, so just snipe in the back, be stealthy, and just use that amazing gun. The tier 4 is the M8A1. Now you get your speed back, and now you actually have a turret. It goes 58 kilometers, and it also has two guns. It has three guns, a 76, a 57, which is the one I prefer of the penetratable guns, and a 3-inch howitzer, which the 3-inch howitzer I much prefer on the medium tank of this tank. The 57, great gun, great DPM, great damage, 75, turreted, tank destroyer, stay at the back, not good armor, stay at the back, snipe, and when the time gets, when there's like almost no tanks and no hit points left, that's when you be aggressive, that's when you use your speed. Now, I'm going to slow down a little bit, since now we're up to tier 5. Now, we get the tier 5, it's the T67, lightly armored tank destroyer, very fast, going 61 kilometers, a reverse speed of 20 kilometers. Wow, could not speak there. And this tank, actually, a lot of people consider really very much powerful. And almost on the verge of overpowered. Now, this tank, why? Why is it so good? This tank has amazing concealment. Terrible view range, amazing concealment, but really good, a really good gun. With damage, DPM 1816, really good for a tier 5, and penetration is 128 on standard and 177 on your premium. Low premium, you're pretty much going to penetrate everything you shoot at. So, lightly armored, great concealment, great gun, stay at the back, never get spotted, and you'll be amazing, perfectly fine in this tank. Next is the M18 Hellcat. Now this is a tank I don't really play that much, but I need to. It has a 76, which is more the DPM side, and the 90mm, which has the penetration and the firepower, the damage. Now the penetration is actually really good at 160 on its standard to 243. So pretty much everything you see, if you load premium, yeah, you're gonna penetrate. Good luck, tier 6s and 7s. 243 is going to shred your armor. Again, super lightly armored, great camo, decent view range this time at 370, and also way faster this time at 72 kilometers. Great gun though, but it can be decently inaccurate. It also has 10 degrees of gun depression. This line has really good gun depression. We're going to move on to the T25/2. Now you actually have a little bit of armor. Your turret armor has 75 at the front, can occasionally bounce some weird shells, and that's basically all where your armor is. Don't rely on it, it just occasionally may get you about. Now you can actually start taking high explosive shells. This tank is a lot slower than the Hellcat at 56 kilometers. The gun is still a 90mm at 2117 DPM. Penetration is better at 190 and 268 on your premium. That's basically tier 10 premium, tier 10 penetration. And yeah, great gun. 10 degrees of gun depression, stay at the back, and you'll be fine. Doesn't have nearly as good a concealment as a 67 or a Hellcat, but stay at the back, use that gun depression, hide your hole, and you'll be perfectly fine in the 25-2. Now, the 28 prototype. This is a tank that actually has really good armor at the front. Good armor at the front. Tier 10s and 9s are probably going to butcher the armor, but 8s and below are going to really do strike with this armor. Especially if you stay to like a secondary line, not as far back as a Hellcat or a 67, but not at the front where the heavy tanks are. Just stay at the midline, a little bit behind the heavy tanks. You don't have the best of accuracy, that's why you want to stay at the secondary line. You don't want to stay at the front because your armor can be penetrated by premium rounds. So you want to save your armor, you want to save your hit points until the very end of the match, until there's a lot less tanks and a lot less hit points to go around. Also, now you have a 120 doing 440 alpha with a DPM of 2,468. Hard hitting, but you're slow, going 28 kilometers. Next, we move on to the Tier 9 tank destroyer. You don't have the armor on your hull like you did on the 28 prototype, but you now have really good armor on your turret. 279. Basically go hull down in this tank. You still want to be, you could somewhat play in the front lines, and what I really say about this tank is just kind of be secondary. Now if there was a heavies, but a little bit farther back, you could provide fire support, because you do hit for 750 because you now have a 155mm gun. You're faster than a 28 prototype at 35 kilometers, but you hit for 750. That's the main gun. The main things about this tank: great turret armor, 10 degrees of gun depression, and hitting for 750. Now we're going to talk about the Tier 10. The Tier 10 of the line, the T110E4. Now, a lot of people classify this as a heavy / tank destroyer. A lot of people play it as a heavy tank, which is a perfectly fine strategy to play it as a heavy, but I much prefer it as that secondary line, not up there with the heavies, but a little bit farther back, so you can save your armor and save your hit points to the very end of the match, where there's a lot less tanks and a lot less hit points, so you can be more aggressive and just take those risky shots. What about this tank? Slower than the T30, surprisingly, going 35 kilometers, and now hitting for 850. Its penetration is pretty much going to go through everything at 295 on its standard, 375 on its premium, and now you have 6 degrees of gun depression, and you're decently accurate at .37. So you really do want to be at that secondary to frontal lines. This tank is good. It is good. It's great. A lot of people really enjoy this tank. I much prefer the non-turret tank destroyers, the T110E3 line, but the E4 is great. You can play as a heavy. Some people have this as their first Tier 10, and it's like a heavy tank. It's not really there as a heavy tank. It doesn't have that heavy tank armor, but it's somewhat there. But I really do secondary line. Overall, E4 line, really great line. The E4 is really good. Recommend it. T30 is good, as long as you stay hold down and hide your hole and do that 750. Or you can load the 120 and have the DPM. 28 prototype. Used to not like it until I learned how to play it, being that secondary line of defense. 25-2. I came from Blitz. Always loaded on Blitz. Came to console. Got it on console. Still like it. Hellcat, I don't play as much as I should, but Hellcat's really nice, especially if you camo it out, go back in the bag, and you're fine. Same with the 67. Great tank. Fully camo, fully loaded out, stay at the back, and you're amazing. The M8A1, I don't really play that much. It's not my style of tank, but it's there. It's a good tank. The 56 GMC, the T3 and the 56 GMC, these two tanks I didn't grind through the line because they were two different Tier 2 and Tier 3s when I first grinded the line, and I went back and played them. They're quite nice, especially the 56 GMC. Great tank destroyer, great gun, and the T3 HMC, I don't really play that much. The only reason I have that tank and play it is just because of how fast it is for Tier 3 at Tier 2 and loading the Nerf gun and getting it to penetrate. So fun. Reversing, terrible, and the T100 Cunningham was always my favorite of the American Tier 1s. Now, it's the only Tier 1, and voila. It used to have a different gun when I first started. But anyway, that's it for this video. Remember, like, comment, and subscribe. Also remember Slapafish, because Walrus not, and peace out. See ya.